You ever notice how divorce seems to follow a recognizable pattern? Not the legal mechanics, not the paperwork or custody, logistics, but what happens afterward. The internal shift, the transformation that almost every divorced woman goes through, especially after a long marriage ends. What's strange is how rarely anyone talks about it honestly. We see the Instagram posts, they live in my best life captions, the girls' trips, the wine nights, the declarations of independence. On the surface, everything looks perfect. But if you've lived it or watched someone close to you go through it, you know there is another story underneath, a pattern so consistent, it's almost unsettling. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain. We're re-examining the psychological journey that unfolds when a woman leaves a long-term marriage. The stages, the mindset shifts, and the unexpected challenges no one prepares her for. This isn't about blame. It's not about choosing sides. It is about understanding what really happens when someone dismantles a life they built and tries to rebuild something new from the wreckage. Because what looks like freedom on the outside often feels very different on the inside. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Let's begin. Imagine this. You're sitting in what used to be your shared home. Now it's divided. Different furniture. Half the photos gone, the routines you lived by for years. The morning coffee, the evening conversations, the steady rhythm of shared life gone almost overnight. For her, the first week feels surreal. Relief mixed with fear. Freedom tangled with regret. The bed feels too large. The silence too loud. Every familiar space is haunted by what used to be there. Here's where it gets interesting. The mind doesn't process loss in a straight line. It doesn't move cleanly from pain to acceptance. Instead, it searches desperately for a story that makes sense of what just happened. And the narrative that usually takes hold at least in the beginning, is empowerment. She tells herself this was necessary. This was brave. This was her reclaiming her life. And maybe it was. Maybe the marriage truly was beyond repair. But that early story isn't about truth. It's about survival. It's a psychological scaffold that allows her to keep moving without collapsing under uncertainty. Friends rally around her and reinforce the narrative. You deserve better. You're so strong. Look at you starting over. The validation feels intoxicating because it silences the quiet voice that asks late at night if she made the right decision. Over time, almost without noticing, she begins to fully believe the story. This is phase 1, the euphoria stage. And it's powerful. She wakes up one day and realizes she can do whatever she wants. No one to answer to. No compromises. No routines shaped by someone else's needs. The freedom is dizzying. She starts small, new paint colors he never liked, furniture that reflects only her taste. She joins a gym, takes classes she once talked about but never pursued, pottery, dance, kickboxing. Each choice represents possibility. Her social life explodes, invitations pouring, friends want to take her out, introduce her to new people, show her what she's been missing. Weekends fill up. Evenings feel electric with potential. The calendar that once revolved around family obligations now belongs entirely to her. Then comes the attention, the part no one prepares her for. After years of being seen primarily as someone's wife, she's visible again as an individual. Men notice her. Compliments come easily. Dating apps light up with matches and messages. It's overwhelming, validating, and addictive. She posts photos that get more engagement than anything she's shared in years. You look amazing. Living your best life. He doesn't know what he'd lost. Every notification delivers a small dopamine hit, reinforcing the belief that she isn't just surviving, she's thriving. And in this phase, the confidence is real. The excitement is real. The sense of liberation is real. But euphoria has a chemical side. Neurologically, it's close to mania. The brain floods with novelty-seeking chemicals in response to massive life change. It feels like awakening, but it's biology. And, like any high, it fades. Validation is where the cracks begin to form. Humans are wired to seek affirmation. It's not weakness. It's survival instinct. In long-term marriage, validation becomes quiet and constant. It's built into routine, familiarity, being deeply known. When that disappears, the need for validation intensifies. And suddenly, she's getting it everywhere from friends, strangers, and social media systems engineered to reward engagement. But this validation is shallow, loud, but thin. 100 likes can't replace being truly seen by one person. Impasse one volume disguises the difference. Quantity feels like quality. She starts making choices based on what earns the most approval: the outfit that gets compliments, the story that gets reactions, the lifestyle that looks impressive. Without realizing it, she has traded one form of external validation for another one that is more fragile because it requires constant performance. Then, usually between 6 months and a year later, something shifts. Phase 2 arrives quietly. The excitement levels off. The novelty wears thin. The new routines start feeling routine. This is the plateau stage, and it's deeply disorienting. Dates blur together. The same questions, the same conversations, the same stories about her divorce. Dating begins to feel transactional and empty. The attention that once felt empowering now feels hollow. She realizes being desired isn't the same as being valued. Attraction isn't connection. Many of the men she meets are interested in the idea of her, not the reality of her. Her social calendar begins to feel like obligation. The girls' nights repeat the same scripts. Everyone is supportive, but no one truly understands because they aren't living it. Comparisons begin quietly at first, not to the worst parts of her marriage, but to the best ones. The comfort, the ease, the shared language built over years. She remembers how her ex knew how to calm her, make her laugh, read her moods without explanation. She realizes rebuilding that depth takes time, more time than she expected to need. Every new interaction requires effort, context, explanation. The exhausting work of starting from zero. Doubt creeps in. Then comes the identity crisis no one warned her about. For years, part of who she was existed inside the role of wife, partner, of Aunit. Even if she wanted out, that role shaped her self-concept. Now, it's gone, and the question emerges: who am I without it? Freedom starts to feel untethered. No one to check in with. No one waiting for her. No one whose life is affected by her presence or absence. Autonomy without connection begins to feel like isolation. This is when she throws herself into self-work, not the exciting kind, but the desperate kind. Books, therapy, journaling, meditation, anything that promises clarity. Social media posts continue, but they require more effort. Captions grow philosophical. Growth becomes a performance. At night, when distractions fade, the questions surface. Did I make the right choice? Is this actually better? What am I searching for? Phase 3 is the reckoning. Usually 1 to 2 years post. The support has faded. Friends have moved on. She's expected to be fine now, thriving. But she isn't. Dating feels exhausting. Situationships fizzle. Promising men reveal emotional unavailability, unresolved baggage, or lack of commitment. Patterns become obvious. Recently divorced men, perpetually single men. Emotionally unavailable men. Truly available, mature partners are rare and they often want stability. She's still rebuilding. Financial reality hits too. Single life is expensive. The lifestyle of a two-income household doesn't translate. Compromises follow: smaller spaces, tighter budgets, diminished freedom. Then comes the deeper loneliness. Not just being alone, but lacking a person. Someone invested in your life. Someone to share the mundane moments with. Memory plays its cruelest trick here. It softens the bad and magnifies the good. Stability, shared history, familiar silence. The reasons she left fade into the background. If her ex moves on, it triggers something primal. If he doesn't, guilt appears. Either way, comparison becomes torment. Phase 4 is settling. Some women double down on independence, convincing themselves they don't need partnership. Others lower standards, choosing companionship over compatibility. Some feel genuine regret and reach back toward what they left, often too late. The uncomfortable truth is this: divorce can be necessary. It can be healthy. But it doesn't cure unhappiness. It exchanges one set of problems for another. Real transformation doesn't come from changing circumstances. It comes from changing yourself. The women who truly thrive after divorce aren't the ones who chase freedom and distraction. They're the ones who confront themselves, who develop self-awareness, who grow emotionally. That path is rare because it's hard, and that's why the pattern repeats. Divorce changes scenery, not identity. The real question isn't whether divorce is right or wrong. It's whether you're willing to do the internal work, regardless of your relationship status. Because that's what actually changes a life. Everything else is just rearranging the same furniture in a different room.